Spirit of the Brave 2019 with green cypress notes and fir and resins and nice spices. It comes out sweet with a tonka note in it as well. It's delicious and long lasting. Hello friends, my name is Christian O. Welcome to today's video. I found several fragrances that were surprisingly very good. Even some titles from Bond Number 9 and Mercedes-Benz. And shout out to Nathaniel's iPhone. He's always commenting below. He's the viewer of the day. And while we're at it, the question of the day is comment down below. What have you surprisingly bought recently that you really like? And I don't care if it's a vacuum cleaner or anything. Put it down below in the comments. I want to know what you're buying that's surprisingly good to you. We're going to start with this Diesel 2019 Spirit of the Brave. And if you don't know, 2020 they made an intense version called Spirit of the Brave Intense, which has added sage and apple notes, and the other one uses leather and cilantro in it and no tonka bean, so it's much more fresh and fruity fragrance. This is sweet, so I took this on a test on a run and I sprayed it on one shot only, and it lasted 5 hours. Very strong. I do not have oily skin, and this thing held on so good. I think it could have held on another 3 hours, and then I took a shower. The thing about it is it worked well in high heat. Not that it's a good high heat fragrance, but it did stick on while sweating profusely, so that means it does good. But this is going to be very good for this autumn weather coming up and cooler weather because of the sweetness in it. Spirit of the Brave, pretty cool bottle. You've got the Diesel right here on the knuckle. You got Diesel on the cap. You got Diesel on the sprayer. You got your batch coat on the bottom. Make sure you get all that when you buy a Diesel product, especially these only the Braves from 2009. They were highly counterfeited back then and probably up until today, so be careful. Next on the list, you have Sauvage Po, Eau de Parfum Sauvage, which is surprisingly good fragrance. I just tried it out, and it's more rich, more depth than the regular Sauvage. It sits a little bit closer to your skin. And then I found this fragrance by Afnan called Modeste Une, which a viewer told me he said it smells very close to this Eau de Parfum Sauvage. I thought it smelled very close to the Eau de Toilette. The reason being that this thing projects and lasts so long like a beast mode. It's called Modeste Une. I highly recommend if you're on a budget to get it because it's a 50% cheaper than one of these Dior Sauvage or more. Coming up, 3 tips on how to store your fragrance. How to store your fragrance properly. Number 1 is keep the original retail box. That really helps store the elixir inside. Number 2 is never keep your fragrance in the bathroom where you have a hot humidity shower in there. That hot temperature can change and affect the liquid in the fragrance. And number 3 is, the third tip is a mistake that I personally keep experiencing all my life. When I get high-end fragrances, niche style fragrances, or just my favorite fragrances or the most expensive fragrances, I tend to put them on the top level of a shelf, and oftentimes something happens, something shakes, or I go to reach for it and the other one next to it falls and breaks. So what my tip is to keep your fragrances on the lower level shelf. And here's 3 tips on how you know when your brand new fragrances is surprisingly good. Tip number 1 is it comes in a really cool bottle. Coming up next, a fragrance that I started to judge and I disliked it at first smell. I was going to sell it to my friend for $40, which is way less than what I paid. And want to know what the name is? Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum Boisé. Now, the Gentleman line came out way back in 1974 with that spicy barbershop fragrance. And in 2017, they relaunched it. And they have these nice looking bottles like this. I believe they've toned them down, made the scents more modern. Some people who love the classic hate the new versions and vice versa and what have you. I'm one of those vice versas. I like the newer version, the new modern version. I've always liked everything more modern in my own personal lifestyle. I like everything modern and not old. Starts with a dark, rich, oriental wooded fragrance with some cacao and iris. This is what makes it so unique. And you're spraying it and it dries down a powdery, slight spicy wood. And there's some sort of fruit or green note. 2017 Givenchy Gentleman has iris, and vanilla, where this one has iris and cacao and sandalwood. That's the main difference. This thing did last 5 to 8 hours. After 5 hours, I would recommend you reapply. But this thing gets massive compliments. I was in a parking lot and someone approached me and said, man, it was a guy, but he's like, he knew me, but he said, hey, you smell like sex. I'm like, what? And I applied this right after a shower. Bond number 9 is coming up next with Greenwich Village. When I'm not from that area, but the way it's spelled, I pronounced it in the last video, Greenwich Village. My deepest apologies for all you New Yorkers. Greenwich Village has cassis in it, which is almost like a black currant. It's a fruity, fresh fragrance that lasts beast mode longevity. It just does you good for all weather, but more so for springtime, early fall, when it's just a little cool, 50, 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the Midwest. And what this thing is, the similar composition to, have you ever heard of Dubai Indigo by Bond number 9? Well, if you haven't, that fragrance costs $550. I never see it on discount. Maybe it's $280, $300 on discount, where this thing you can be bought for like $120 if you look hard enough, or you can get those cool little scent sprayers. I put the links down below. Greenwich Village is surprisingly good because it got me compliments, it lasts long, and it smells like Dubai Indigo. Dubai Indigo has peach, where this uses mandarin. Dubai Indigo also uses oud wood. This doesn't. This is like a freshy fragrance, a new take like you've never smelled before. Greenwich Village. And another one that's really good, freshy, that surprises me, and it's kind of hard to get. It's called The Move by Mercedes-Benz, and people are saying that it smells like Invictus. It kind of does. It's definitely a citrusy, fresh, aquatic pineapple scent, slightly like Invictus, but more of its own unique style. Mercedes-Benz The Move lasts a nice long time. It's very unique and it's hard to find. So if you're a collector, this would be a good fragrance. Also, check out this video right here. It's coming up next. Peace and love.